Hello everyone. This video is for Module 7, Developing an Excel Application. Again, Module 7, Developing an Excel Application. This can be found on page EX 453 in your textbook. I'm completing the review assignment at the end of Module 7, again on page EX 453. You will need a workbook by the name of Youth to complete this particular review assignment. You can find that out on Blackboard under Student Files. So if necessary, you can pause this, go out and get that workbook ready, and then follow along. I've got mine saved on my desktop, so I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And I'm going to continue with the instructions, again found on page 453. Again, for Module 7, Developing an Excel Application. It is a fairly lengthy one with a lot of data entry, so please be patient as you watch this video. The opening paragraph reads, "The Rockport Youth Center also runs half-day winter youth events, hip-hop dance, secret agent day, and Zibantran workshops for boys and girls grades 1 through 5. Stephen wants you to automate the registration process for the winter youth events so it is similar to the process you created for the winter activities registration. Complete the following." Step 1, open the youth workbook. Okay, I'm done with step 1. Step 2, in the documentation worksheet, so we do have 3 worksheets that we'll be working with. You want to be in the first one, the documentation. It says enter your name and date. So in B4, I'm going to enter both my first and last name. And for the date, I'm going to type in 06/26/2019. Okay, step 2 done. Step 3, in the receipt worksheet. So I'm going to click on receipt. Define names as follows. A good part of this chapter is on what's called range names and naming cells. 3A, create defined names for selection using the range A3 to B11 to name all of the input cells. So I'm going to highlight A3 to B11. What this is going to do is it's going to use the left column to name the cells in column B. So B3 is going to become known as registration date. Now, range names cannot have spaces in that. So it will become registration underscore date. B4 will become youth underscore name. B5 will become event. So it's using the left column to name the right cells. The way we do that is we go to the formulas ribbon. On the formulas ribbon, we have one whole section here for defined names. That's what we're going to be using for all of step number 3. We're going to go to create from selection because the instructions say create defined names from selection. So I'm going to do create from selection, and I want to make sure the check mark is next to left column to tell it to use the left column to name the cells to the right. So I just verify that that is checked. I click OK. And if you want to verify that it worked, you can click on B3, and you'll notice that up in the name box, which was something else we're going to be using, it says registration, and it gets cut off, but it says registration underscore date. B4, it says youth underscore name, and each one of these cells in column B are now named using the name that was in the column A. Okay. Step B, change the defined name of address to street address. Well, the only place that can be completed is in what's called the name manager under defined names. So we just got done using create from selection. We're now going to use name manager. That's like the command center. That you can do everything there. So I click on name manager. And this lists every single range name that I currently have in this workbook. And I can edit them, I can delete them, or I can add new ones. Here they want me to edit one because address, they want that to become street underscore address. So I click on address, I click edit, And just before the left of the letter A, I'm going to click and I'm going to type street underscore. And now it is exactly as it says in step 3B. It's now called street underscore address. I click OK and I can click close. Step 3, C. Use the name box to create the defined names of youth info for the range D2 to E8. Let's do that first before I read anything else. So D2 to E8. So I select that range. I come up to my name box and I drop the arrow down and I type in the name that they want to give to this range, which is youth underscore info, and then hit enter. That range now is called youth underscore info. I'm going to basically do the same thing, but for the range A13 to B16. This one, they want it to be called, so I drop the arrow down and I call it events and hit enter. Okay, that's step 3. Step 4, in the documentation worksheet, so back I go to documentation worksheet, in the range B9 to B19. So I'm going to click on B9. Paste the list of defined names. So actually I'm going to highlight B9 to B19. B9 to B19. I'm going to go over here. We've used name manager. We used create from selection. This time we're going to use in formula. So I'm going to drop the arrow down. I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom where it says paste names. Click on that, and then paste list. And there's a list of my defined names right there. Okay? All right. That took care of step number 4. Step number 5. Now this is going to be a lengthy step because there's a lot of data entry here. In the receipt worksheet, so I'll go back to receipt worksheet. In the range B3 to B11, create the data validation rules, input messages, and error alerts shown in figure 7-44. Okay, data validation provides you an opportunity to prevent simple data entry errors. You can actually specify what you want to have clicked in that cell or typed into that cell. The input message works like a comment box. When the user clicks on that cell, the message will come up to tell them what you're expecting them to type into that cell. The error alert is if they don't follow the rule and they type something that you don't want accepted, then they get an error message and you get to create the error message. It's not a Microsoft error message, it's yours. In addition to that, for about 3 of the steps that we're going to be doing, we're going to be doing what's called a list. One of the questions that I used to get asked a whole lot is, can Excel provide a drop-down list to have users select from a list? And the answer is yes, and that's what you're going to learn how to do today. We're going to create a drop-down list that they can pick from a list when they're doing their data entry. It's pretty neat. So we're on the white box in figure 7-44 on page EX453. So I'm going to click on B3. To find data validation rules, we go to the data ribbon and we click on data validation. Now yours might be spelled out. Mine's a little icon here in the data tools group. But data validation, there's our 3 tabs: settings, input message, and error alert, which follows the table that we see in figure 7-44. So for the first one, my settings has to be allow a date. A date. The date must be greater than or equal to. So right down here where it says between, I'm going to drop the arrow down and pick greater than or equal to. So the first one where it says allow, I drop that arrow down and pick date. So date greater than or equal to, and down here the start date we're going to type in 1/1/2017. The second tab, the input message, again, is what the user sees when they click on that cell. The title is going to be registration date. And the input message is enter the data, or that date, I'm sorry, enter the date on the registration form. And then the error alert tab, it says style stop, which it is. My title is going to be invalid registration date. And the error alert that they're going to get if they don't follow the directions is the registration date must be present and greater than or equal to 1/1/2017. Okay, that's our first one. Click OK. And what shows up is in the yellow box is what you typed in for your input message. So when the user clicks on that, the title was registration date. The text was enter the date on the registration form. Now let's click on B4 and enter the second one to do. Go back to data validation. So data ribbon, data validation. For the settings, we're going to allow any value. So that's okay, right where it is. The input message, so I have to click on that tab. The title for this one is youth name. Youth name. And the input message is please enter the full name of the youth participant. Okay, there is no error alert for this one, so we don't have to worry about the third tab. We simply click OK. In B5, so make sure you're in B5. We're going to go back to data validation. We're going to go to settings, and this time we're going to provide the user a drop-down list. So we go to allow, we drop the arrow down, and we pick list. And the source for what's going to appear when they click the drop-down arrow is found in A14 to A16. So I elect to select A14 to A16. You can simply type it if you feel more comfortable doing that. A14:A16. But I, again, selected the 3 cells. So there we go. I'm going to go to the input message. The title is event. Event. The input message is click the arrow to select the event. We go over to error alert. Style is stop. The title is invalid event. The error alert, or the message I should say, the error message is use the arrow to select the event. Okay, that's the third data validation. Click OK. Now we're going to click on B6, basically close to the same process. Data validation, settings. We want this one to be list as well. The source for this one is D4 to D8. Again, I select the range. You can simply type it if you want. My input message is grade for the title. And the input message is click the arrow to select the grade. Okay. Error alert. Style is stop. Title invalid. Grade. Message, error message. Use the arrow to select the grade. Okay. Click OK. B7, data validation. Get the routine going here. Settings, list. Nothing new there. The source for this one is E4 down to E8. Again, select it or type it. The input message is shirt size. That's my title. Shirt size. My input message is click the arrow to select the shirt size. And the error alert is again style stop. The title is invalid shirt size. And the error message is going to be use the arrow to select the shirt size. Click OK. And we're almost done with our data validations. We have one more to do, and this time we're going to select a range so we don't have to do each cell individually. So we're going to select the range B8 to B11, those 4 cells. We're going to go to data validation. We're going to go to settings, and we're going to leave it as allow any value. We're going to go to the input message. The title is going to be Guardian Contact Information. And my input message is please enter the Guardian Contact Information. Okay, that was a lot of busy work to demonstrate data validation. That's step number 5. Good job. Step 6, in the range B3 to B11, enter the data shown in figure 7-45. So that requires me to turn the page to page EX454. In the big white box up at the top is where I'm going to do my data entry in cells B3 through B11. The registration date in B3 should be 10/1/2017. Now you can see that when you were on that cell, what came up was the input message. We're not going to get an error alert because that follows what we wanted. The youth name, again you see the input message. We're going to type in Henry Boardman and hit enter. For the event, we do have the drop-down list to pick from. So I click the little drop-down arrow that was caused when we did the list data validation, and I simply pick the one that I want from the list. That makes it easy. Grade, same principle. I drop this down and I pick G5. And shirt size is L. So I drop this down and pick L. Guardian is Sharon Boardman, so we have to type that. Hit enter. Their address is 3642 space Washington. Avenue, AVE. Okay. Their city, state, and zip is Rockport, comma, IN for Indiana, space 47635. And finally, their telephone number is 812-555-1234. Okay, that was step number 6. Step number 7. Step number 7. Enter the following formulas for the transfer area in the specified cells using the defined names you created earlier. So we're going to scroll down and look at A40. So I'm going to click in A40, and they want equals guardian. Now watch how this works. If you want to watch me first, equals, as I start to type guardian, a list comes up, and eventually it's going to come up to the range name that I gave to it earlier, which is guardian. I can double click on that and then tab out of it, and it will put the information in for me. I don't have to type the entire word, which is really nice. Let me show you another one. In B40, they want telephone. So equals, don't forget the equals, telephone, and as you get closer, there's a list. I can double click on telephone, tab out of it, and there you go. So I'm going to continue with it. In C40, equals youth. There it is, youth name. Double click, make sure you use the right one. Youth name. In the D40, they want equals event. Okay, there it is. In E40, they want equals grade. Pretty easy. Okay. And then in F40, equals shirt size. Okay. All right. That was step 7. Step 8, same principle, but now we're doing it for different cells. In cell B27, so I'm going to scroll up. There's B27 right there. I'm going to type in equals GU. Again, there's guardian. I double click, hit enter. In B28, it wants equals street address. There it is. I double click, hit enter. B29 equals city. There it is. City, state, zip. Double click, hit enter. Telephone in B30 equals TE. There it is. Telephone. Double click, hit enter. In E25, so up here for registration date, we're going to type in equals registration. There it is, registration date. Double click. In E27 equals youth name. Enter. Event equals EV or event. There it is. Hit enter. E29 equals grade. Double click, hit enter. And finally, in cell E30, shirt size equals shirt. There it is. And hit enter. That's step number 8. Step number 9. Make sure that column E displays the date in the short date format and is wide enough to see the entire date. So E25, they want that to be short date format. So I'm going to go to the home ribbon. I'm going to go to the number group on the home ribbon. Click the down arrow in the white box here and pick short date. And the column is wide enough to display the date. So we're okay there. So that was step number 9. Step 10. In cell E36. Now this is a little complicated. In E36, enter a formula with a nested if. If the event is hip hop dance, the fee will be the value in cell B14. Otherwise, if the event is secret agent day, the fee will be the value in B15. Otherwise, it will be the value in cell B16. If you remember, an if function has 3 parts. test something, part 1. Part 2, what to do if it's true. And part 3, what to do if it's false. So for example, in my grade book, I might say, if the student's percentage is greater than 0.895, if that's true, give the student an A. If that's false, give the student a B. Well, my students would love me if that's the case, because anybody below an 895 will automatically get a B. Well, of course, that can't be true. So first I have it test to see if it's greater than 0.895 and tell the computer to give them an A if that's the case. Then if that's not true, I tell them to check another if statement to see if it's greater than 0.795. If that's true, give the student a B. Then I do another one for 695. Give them a C. And I have to do an if within an if. If this is true, do this. If not, do another if. Test this one. If that's true, do this. If not, do another if. That's called a nested if. So I'm going to do equals if, open parenthesis. And it says, let me read it again. Enter a formula with a nested if the event is hip hop dance. So I'm going to say equals if, open parenthesis, event equals hip dash hop dance. Now, I should include that inside quotes. Okay, any text string like that should be in quotes. So equals if event equals, quote, hip dash hop dance, comma, then give that, let me read the instructions, the fee will be the value in cell B14. So then I say B14 if that's true, comma. If not, do another if and check and see if event equals, quote, let's see, in the instructions it says secret agent day. Secret agent. Sorry, I can't. Agent. Can't tell where I have a space and I don't. So secret agent day. Let me make sure. If event equals hip hop dance B14. If event equals secret agent day. Sorry, some reason my computer is acting up here. Close my quote. If that's the case, comma, it gets B15, otherwise B16. Now, I know that's very, 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 very complicated. Let's go through this. If event equals hip hop dance, then give me the result in B14. If it's not, check and see if the event is secret agent day. If that's true, give me the result in B15. If neither one of those are true, give me B16. I hit enter and it retrieves 8. The event is Xebion Workshop, so it doesn't meet either one of those, so it retrieves what's in B16. B16 is 880. Okay. Again, you can always replay this, pause it, do whatever if you need to do a nested if in your case problem, and just kind of copy the idea that I've done here. Take one if that's not true, look at another if, and then finally have the end result down there. Okay, so that was step number 10, a little complicated there. Step 11. Unlock the input cells on the receipt worksheet so the user can enter data only in the range B3 to B11. So I'm going to scroll all the way up. B3 to B11. Now, what I'm about ready to tell you probably will not make sense to you, but all cells in worksheets are locked by default. All cells are locked by default. So if I protect this worksheet, I essentially mean nobody can do anything because none of the cells would be able to be activated. They're all locked by default. Now, you only notice that when you protect the worksheet. If there is something that you want the user to be able to type into once you protect the worksheet, you have to unlock those cells. And that's what they want me to do, is I'm going to unlock the cells B3 to B11 so that the user can still type in those even if I protect the worksheet. They will not be able to do anything else in this worksheet but for the cell that I unlock. So I'm going to go to B3 and highlight down to B11. I'm going to go to the home ribbon if you need to, and I don't care which one you click on, but you want to click in the bottom right hand corner. There's a little arrow for both font, alignment, and number. So click on that little arrow in the bottom right hand corner. And you're going to go to the protection tab at the very, very right end. Notice that it's checked by default. All cells are locked by default. We're going to uncheck it so that when we protect it later, the worksheet, they will be able to type into these cells. So unlock it by simply removing the check mark and clicking OK. That took care of step number 11. Step 12, protect the documentation and registration data worksheets so that the user cannot enter data. Do not use a password. The receipt worksheet remains unprotected. So I go to the documentation worksheet, and in order to protect it, I go to the review ribbon and protect sheet. They tell me not to use a password. This password, if you elect to use one, is not a network password. If you were to forget it, you're basically SOL. This is not a network password. The only person who's going to know it is you. So be very, very careful with that. So I'm going to click OK. I don't want a password. And since I didn't unlock any cells on the documentation worksheet, essentially everything is blocked. Watch what happens if I try to delete the contents of B4. I'm not allowed to. What if I try to come over here to E7 and type something? I'm not allowed to. The entire worksheet is now protected. Again, that's because I didn't unlock any cells on this worksheet. It also wants me to do the very same thing for registration data. So I come over here, I go to the review ribbon, protect sheet, again no password, and click OK. Again, everything is protected because I did not unlock any cells on this sheet. Okay, so that is step number 12. Step 13, add the developer tab. What we're going into now is we're going into the area of creating what are called macros. Macros allow us to record certain steps that we do on our computer so that when we hit a button, it will actually repeat the steps that we recorded. So these are things that you do every day, every month, every week, routine tasks that you do. You can record those steps and actually just click a button and it will do the steps. Back in my younger years, I actually recorded a macro one time that ran for 4 hours. My computer just went for all by itself for 4 hours. I didn't have to do a thing, which was really nice. Okay, but we're not going to get anywhere near that today, so don't get too nervous on this. But we have to add what's called a developer ribbon. Now, I already have mine up here because I always have it. But let me show you how to add that developer ribbon because more than likely you are not seeing that ribbon called developer. You go to File drop-down menu and you go to all the way down to the bottom. So scroll down if you need to Options. File, Options, and we're going to go to Customize Ribbon. Customize Ribbon. Over here on the far right column, you want to make sure that there's a check mark in the box that says developer. More than likely yours was blank. Click in there to put a check mark and click OK. And now we have the developer ribbon, which is exclusively used for the macros, etc. and for the developers, which we were not going to get into in this class. But we're going to need that ribbon to record our macros. Okay, so that was step 13. Step 14 is kind of warning us. Step 14 says, okay, the rest of this chapter is going to be dealing with macros, which might and might not be a little bit difficult. So let's save our workbook now so that if something should go wrong, we don't have to call Mr. Whiteman and say, I had to redo the entire thing. If you save it now, you will have steps 1 through 14 completed. You can go back to it if you mess up any of the preceding steps. So let's save this just to be sure. So use your little save diskette, and we've got steps 1 through 14, all that hard work, data entry done. Now, we're going to record 2 individual macros. When you record macros, you have to be very careful because they will record everything you do right and everything you do wrong. So this is a perfect case of being very slow and accurate than trying to be fast and making a mistake, a silly mistake, because then you're going to have to go back and redo it again anyway. So just take your time, okay? Also, at the very end, pay attention to my instructions. You will want to stop your macro when we're done recording. They don't essentially tell you to do that in the instructions. You just kind of have to know that, and I will help you through that. But we want to stop our macro. I've had students take a test where they didn't stop the macro when they were done, and it recorded every click of everywhere they went while they were taking my test, which was very interesting to me as a teacher to know where students were going while they were taking my test. But you don't want that to happen to you, so you're going to want to stop it. So here we go. We're on step 15. Now, when we go to the developer ribbon and we click record macro, don't worry, it's not turning the recorder on yet. It's going to ask me for a few things, and this step is going to tell me what to put in there. So I'm going to click record macro. Again, it's not recording yet. Step 15 says, let's call this PDF event. PDF event. You can't have spaces in range and macro names either. You cannot have spaces in macro names either. So don't put a space between PDF and event. It's all one word. Okay? We can use control key shortcuts to run these macros. A lot of people don't like that because it's hard enough to remember things like control C for copy and control V for paste. But they say go ahead and put a letter E in there. Not an uppercase E, but a lowercase e. We're always going to store the macro as part of this workbook so that it travels with this workbook. So don't change that. And down here in the description, we're going to type in created 12/7/2017 period. Save the receipt area, comma, range A18 colon F37, comma, as a PDF file. Okay? Now, as soon as we click OK, the recorder is on, so please watch me follow the steps in the book very, very carefully for step 15. We've got steps A through H. So let's make sure we take our time here. We're going to click OK. Step 15A, make the receipt worksheet the active worksheet. So we're going to click on receipt, and we just completed step 15A. B, select the range A18 to F37. So I'm going to scroll down. We're going to select the range A18 to F37. So select that range. That's step B. C, open the page setup dialog box. So I'm going to go to page layout, and I'm going to click this little arrow in the bottom of page setup. I'm going to click that little arrow. I'm in page setup right now. It says on the margins tab, so I'm going to click the margins tab. Make sure that the print area is centered horizontally. So I check the horizontal box and click OK. I'm on the next page, EX455 in your textbook. The recorder is still on. Be very careful. Step D, export the worksheet to create a PDF XPS document with the file name event receipt saved in the location specified by your instructor. Let's just save it to your desktop, please. So I go to File, Export. I click on PDF XPS. We're going to choose your desktop, and they want me to call this event receipt. Click Publish. Okay. I'm looking for my PDF. Mine didn't come up. Okay, if yours came up, you will want to close the PDF file. Now I did this a little bit earlier, so I'm suspecting that's why it's not opening up, but I'm sure for you it opened up immediately. So just go ahead and close the PDF. We're now going to I'm going to stop this because I actually made a mistake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record part 2 where I'm going to create the macro. Let me explain what I missed. On step number B, it says, and then set the print area. I did not set the print area, and that's why I'm not having a PDF come up. So in lieu of not having to record the entire steps again, I'm going to stop this right now. To stop your macro, I'm going to click down here where it says ready. There's a little black box down there. Or you can go to the developer ribbon and click stop recording. I'm actually going to close this without saving it because back in step number 14, it told me to save it if I made a mistake in my macro. I'm going to record a second macro that will start with step number 15. And you can watch that to learn how to do recordings. So my fault, I skipped a step and it's going to affect my macro, and I think it would be easier if I just recorded another video for you. So I'm going to stop this video, and if you would, watch part 2 on how to do macros. Thank you.